Today let's do a chapter featuring Nisunoya. So you head up to the school rooftop and you find Nisunoya taking a nap. You try to sneak up on him, but he suddenly looks at you. He says, "Did you think you'd surprise me? Too bad for you. My ears are really good, aren't they?" You wonder just how good his ears are, and he says, "Then why don't you whisper something while I'm facing that way?" He turns around and you ask him if he was skipping class, and he says, "No, I was just taking a nap. You know, since it's nice and dark here." You tell him that's skipping, and he says, "What, do you want me to sleep in the classroom?" "Hey, you just laughed." Suddenly, I can't hear really well. That's weird. What's with this pounding sound? It's your heart. Why is it making such a loud noise? You tell him it's no different from usual, and he says, "No, it's different." He then pulls you close, and he says, "Did you forget that I'm a vampire?" He then leans in to lick your cheek, and you let out a shriek. He says, "If you make such a delicious sound, I won't be able to hold myself back. Just by the sound of your heartbeat, it's making me crave blood." Your heart then starts beating faster, and he says, "Wait, why is it getting louder?" You tell him it's because you're getting self-conscious around him, and he says, "Well, I'm happy to hear that, but it's not my problem if I can't hold back anymore, okay?" Today, let's do a chapter featuring Tsukishima. So it's morning, and Tsuki wanders into the living room, and he says good morning. He then stops, and he points at an open window, and he says, "Are you trying to kill me?" You quickly run to close the curtains. He sits down on the couch, and he still seems a little dazed. Seeing that he still looks sleepy, you offer to make him some coffee. He says, "Coffee, huh?" You tell him you'll go make some now, and you turn to leave, but he grabs your arm, and he says, "Wait," and he pulls you onto the couch. He says, "That won't be enough." He then leans in, and you close your eyes, but nothing happens. You open your eyes to him whispering, "Having coffee first thing in the morning is bad for your stomach. I'll have a cafe au lait instead." What's with that face that you're making? Did you think that I was going to bite you? Well, if you keep dazing out like that, I am going to eat you up. You flinch from that, and he says, "Well then, I'm looking forward to a nice cup of coffee that wakes you up." Today, let's do a chapter featuring Hanamaki. So you're on your way home when you see a sign saying, "Beware of perverts." You get kind of freaked out, and someone says, "Hey." Maki appears behind you, and he says, "Sorry for surprising you. Are you going home alone?" "Hey, why do you look so scared?" You tell him to read the sign, and he says, "Huh? Beware of perverts?" "Wait, that's not me. I just thought that it would be dangerous for you to walk home alone." You start backing away from him, and he's like, "Wait. Hey!" You run away from Maki when a stranger emerges from the shadows, and he says, "Are you alone?" He grabs your wrist, but Maki then smacks his head with his bag. He says, "This is why I told you it was dangerous. Besides, if this guy moves in on what's mine, it'll be a pain." You ask him how you could thank him for saving you, and he says, "Then, can I drink just a little?" Today, let's do a chapter featuring Kageyama. So you and Kageyama are having dinner, and he says, "Here, I made food for you, so make sure you eat a lot." You ask him if he's gonna have anything, and he says, "No, I'm not gonna eat." You offer him a can of tomato juice, and he says, "Tomato juice? Are you making fun of me? Don't look down on a vampire like that." "Honestly, I really didn't want to drink this." But he takes a sip anyways, and he's like, "Whoa, what is this? Was tomato juice always this good?" You start laughing, and he says, "You don't have to laugh so much. And don't you dare tell the others. They're gonna make fun of me." He then stares at you for a bit, and he says, "As I thought. I want to drink blood." You tell him he's free to have yours, and he says, "What? Don't say something so stupid. Obviously, I was kidding." Jeez, this is why having a human lover is so much trouble. I'll have you know, I really cherish you, which is why I've been holding myself back up until now. But if this is how you feel, he takes your hand and he brings it to his mouth, and he kisses it. He says, "I'll hold myself back for today with this. But next time, you better be prepared." Happy Halloween, everyone! As I'm sure you can guess, today let's do a chapter featuring Futakuchi. So it's a moonlit night, and Futakuchi's dazing out. He says, "Hey, if you keep staring at me like that, it'll be troublesome." Or could it be that you were just so fascinated by me? You ask him how he knew, and he says, Sorry, I didn't think I was right. But if that's the case, don't give in to someone else." You ask him what he means, and he says, "Some guy sitting next to you touched you today, didn't he?" You ask him if he was peeping, and he says, "No, I wasn't. Don't word it like that. This guy just told me so." And as he says this, a bat version of Koganegawa appears in his hand. You immediately start to pet him, and Futakuchi says, "Hey, you idiot, don't get used to it." He shoos him away and says, "You, look this way." As he's holding your cheeks, he squishes it, then he squishes it again. He then laughs and says, "Your cheeks are so soft, like rice cakes. They look delicious." You tell him not to eat you, and he says, "I'm not going to. But if you're going to be fascinated by my face, don't look away." He then leans in, and he kisses you on the cheek, and he says, "That's a promise, okay?" Today, let's do a chapter featuring Tsukishima. So Tsukishima's waking up, and he says good morning, and reaches for his glasses, but he realizes they aren't there. He sits up, and he's like, "Ugh, what time is it?" Then he looks over at you, and he's like, "Wait, aren't those my glasses?" He laughs and says, "That's right, you like doing things like that. Now give it back." And he tries to convince you with a kiss. You tell him no, and he says you tease, and I think he tries to kiss you here, but you dodge, and he ends up kissing the pillow. Then he sits up, and he's like, "Alright, I had enough, give them back." You tell him no again, he's like, "Ugh, why?" Eventually he just gives up, and he's like, "What did you want to do today? You said you wanted to go to that store, right?" You ask him if he can see like that, and he says absolutely not, and you suggest he should try getting contact lenses, and he's like, why? You tell him that the color of his eyes are really pretty, and he laughs and says that's the first time someone ever said that about me. He takes your hand and says, I like the color of your eyes too. Now can I please have my glasses back? You tell him no again. He's like, ugh, I just can't compete with you. And then he goes over to the window and says, just so you know, I can't leave the house without those on. So we're gonna be here for the rest of the day. What did you want to do? It's October, which means vampire courtesy time. Today let's do a chapter featuring Sugawara. So you're going out with Sugawara and he says, sorry, did you wait long? You tell him you just got there too, and he says, that's good. I thought I was late. You tell him he seems like he's in a good mood, and he says, maybe. I've been in pretty good shape as of late. So, what kind of clothes did you want to get? You tell him you're here for a Halloween costume, and he's like, that's right, you did mention that. So, what did you want to be? A witch? A fairy? You tell him you want to be a vampire, and he says, I see. You hold one of the costumes up to yourself, and he says, ooh, that looks nice. You should try it on. So you do that, and he says, oh, it's so cute. It suits you very well. As you look into the mirror to adjust your costume, you notice that something is missing. Sugawara says, so you've noticed. The fact that I don't have a reflection. That's because I'm a vampire. So I think I can give you a lot of advice when it comes to Halloween. But keep this a secret between the two of us. And if you happen to can't keep a secret, I might just have to take your blood. Just kidding.